G'day guys, it's Cece and welcome back to another video. Today I thought I'd share with you guys some of the basics of pixel art and what I've learned over the years of doing it. So first off here, I prepared a grid sheet with 3 reference images. One of them is the basic Among Us character, a raccoon headshot, and my persona's reference sheet. Using these 3 images as reference, I mainly want to focus on the roundedness in pixel art. This is something that can be a bit difficult for others, so I want to show some easy ways that I get around doing those areas. Now the first thing I like to do, whether or not it's traditional or digital, is do a rough sketch using the reference image above so that I can transfer that image to pixel art. Using the sketch as a guide, we are now going to go in and just outline the areas of pixels that fill up the most amount of space within the sketch. Something you want to avoid in pixel art is doing corners. So instead of doing 3 up and 2 across to make a corner, you'll want to leave that corner piece out. This just gives the overall image a smoother look and it's a lot less bulky. I highly recommend you try this out here as I show you for the rounded area of the head. Now after completing this, I realized I didn't like some of the head areas. I found it was a bit lacking. So I'm here just going to sketch in where I would have put the other pixels. Now this can easily be fixed in digital artwork and also be prevented in traditional artwork by doing more sketches. But right now I'm just going to rough in to remind myself for future reference. And then we're going to get onto another piece just using 1 extra row. Now you wouldn't think adding 1 extra row would help or improve your line art. But as you can see here, I'm coloring in. It really does help define the drawing. You have a lot more to work with, and the more space you give yourself, the more detailed your pixel art can become. Test the limits of your pixel art and play around until you have something that you're happy with. Now here I'm going to move on to this raccoon headshot. Now a lot of this raccoon is quite rounded, so I'm going to be using a larger area to replicate this image, just sketching out again and trying to do the symmetry line down the middle so I make sure that both sides of this image will be symmetrical. Now obviously with a bigger area to work with, like I said, you can have a lot more detail, but the thing I'm focusing on right here is replicating as much as I possibly can of this image into the space that I have to work with. Now just like the Among Us character, I want you to outline the areas with the most amount of sketch in it, and eventually you will have a finished artwork. I roughly colored mine in for reference, but now I'm going to get started on this final piece. So just like the other 2, I start off with a basic sketch, also putting a symmetry line down the middle so I know that what I'm drawing will be symmetrical. With pixel art, it's all about using your space to the best of your ability. Getting things across with 1 or 2 squares can really be crucial in this stage, but all you need to focus on at the moment is sketching across the basics that you want for your artwork. Now again, I've given myself a larger area to work with so that I can have more detail in this piece. I'm also not referencing a certain image I want to replicate. I'm just sketching it off the top of my head and what I want to get out of this piece. But right now I'm going to move to digital and show you how I'll finish this off. So first off, I take a picture and email it to myself for reference, and I start by sketching out the drawing again, but this time with a pixel brush. Now if your program doesn't have a pixel brush, I'm sure you can always download different brushes that people make custom for these kinds of things, but if not, you can always go back to downloading a basic grid and filling them in one by one with a bucket tool. Now as you may be able to see here, where I've done the downsides of the face, the rounded areas, I have not used all of the pixels. This is because it gives it a thinner feel and it's less chunky, and it makes the whole pixel art a lot more readable. You want to really use the pixels that you have available to you to your advantage, so this is what I'm doing, making sure that none of my line art looks chunky. Also, for the sake of this video, I'm not using a symmetry tool. This is just to show you that you don't need a symmetry tool to be able to do pixel art that is symmetrical. Just one at a time and you will get there and have an end product that will look exactly the same as using one. Now when starting off with pixel art, I recommend that you either start with the file of a 50 by 50 or 100 by 100. This is just a great place to start, and a lot of profile pictures, especially DeviantArt, use these things for GIFs and such. Now, as you may have noticed, I went onto another layer there, making sure that the line art I currently had was unviewable to my eye at that time, so that I could focus on the hair and I knew how to get that across without interrupting the line art that I had. I then went back in, and as you can see, I erased the parts of the liner that were supposed to be under the hair. I've now entered the colouring stage. Now the colouring stage is just as important as the liner. You need to use your space to your advantage. Every pixel counts. Now as you can see, I'm going in here a pixel at a time, making sure I'm happy with where I'm placing these to get the markings correct and have them read well from a distance. Now to get gradients across in pixel art, I slowly shift the color and do a line at a time. This gives the image from a far and close up the gradient type look that you're hoping to achieve, but in pixel form. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing using the hair, just a line at a time using a different shade to slowly gradate up to the color that I'm hoping to get. Now depending on what you're using, I just went in here with a layer set to add some highlights to areas to give it a bit more definition. This just helps the image pop more and stand out areas that would be highlighted with the natural light source. I then go in and color the liner, which is a style choice of mine and it's optional for you guys. But this is the end piece. I'm quite happy with how it turned out. It's everything that I wanted. These are different sizes, but for now I'm going to go on and show you how I would improve this piece I made in Minecraft. Now obviously I've given myself a lot more space to work with, and I'm also not held back by the program of Minecraft. I'm using an art program this time, so I have a lot more flexibility in the design and the placing of where I want to go. So using what I said before, starting with the sketch and then going in with the liner, I'm going to do coloring, but this time a bit more detailed so you guys can understand what can be read through pixel art. Now after putting down the base colors, I'm just going in with a darker shade of whatever color I want to define and just adding layer by layer the areas that I want to add shadow to. As you can see, I've done this on the eye, face, and hair areas. Again, going in with my highlights and coloring of liner, which is again a stylistic choice. Here is the end result, which I think is a really easy piece to improve, as again, it was done in Minecraft for a friend. But these things can really be improved. No matter how many times you do it, you will always get better. I hope this video was somewhat helpful to you, but right now I want to take this opportunity to thank my Patreons, Make It With Alex and Travi75. Joining my Patreon gives you access to artwork way ahead of other people, sketches, behind the scenes of videos, and tons of other things. So if you're interested in other ways to support me, there'll be a link in my description and you can catch it out there. But for now, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was helpful to you guys. Consider subscribing, it's free and you can always unsubscribe, and press the like button if it was helpful. Leave suggestions of what you guys would like to see next, and I hope to catch you in the next one. See ya!